Hey guys, I'm Austin.
And I'm Mitch.
And this is Super Platinum Achievement, and we are here to cover everything that happened in the most recent PlayStation Showcase. But first, if you are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. Also, if you like this video at the end, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, and also share it with your friends. So yes, PlayStation held their first showcase in quite a while. They've been doing obviously a run of State of Plays. This is the first hour-long showcase that they have done. And you know, I think Mitch and I both kind of had mixed feelings about this. We were hoping for a little more. We got a lot, but we got a lot that's going to be cross-platform and not actually a ton of exclusives, which we know Sony is still working on a ton of them. So, and a lot of them didn't show up. Like, we made a lot of predictions about what we'd hope to see from actual Sony studios, and we didn't get a ton of that. One we did get right, though, was the one that kind of started off the showcase from Haven Studios. We did guess that they would show their game that they've been working on. They are a very newly acquired studio under the Sony ring. And yeah, they showed off their Fair Games, is what they're calling it. And it is, it looks like a bank heisty competitive multiplayer kind of game. It was just a CGI trailer, so we didn't get much more besides that. Like, pretty colorful game. Like, obviously we had some fun with the music and whatnot. Obviously it looked like, you know, class based or maybe just gadget based or something along those lines, but I don't know. We'll see more about that. And one note we also wanted to point out, one note we want to point out is a lot of the games, especially the ones that were just for PS5, did announce for PS5 and PC. So
yeah, I think every single one did except for the final game.
Yeah, so I think we have kind of mentioned that in the past. So you know, check that out and see what we said. But yeah, we kind of think it's kind of inevitable that the PC is going to be brought up more in Sony stuff. So yeah, that's how they started off the showcase.
A lot of these, like Austin said, were multi-platform, and almost immediately after the showcase, Xbox posted on Twitter 12 game, which they actually missed a couple, but 12 games of those, and I think it's actually 14 of those, but they posted 12 games that are coming to Xbox as well. So it was a little bit of a head scratcher that Sony took the time to show all these games in the PlayStation Showcase that are multi-platform. I'm sure there's some marketing agreements there, but most of the showcase was multi-platform, which was kind of a bummer. Just to, you know, rattle off that list, that's Immortals of Aveum, Ghost Runner 2, Dragon's Dogma 2, Alan Wake 2, Teardown, Assassin's Creed Mirage, The Talos Principles 2, Cat Quest, the Pirates of the Caribbean, Neva, The Plucky Squire, and then one that we thought was going to be exclusive is the Metal Gear Solid remake, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater remake. We actually didn't predict that. We thought it was going to be the first one. And then one we did predict would be multi-platform, even though it is coming from a PlayStation studio, and that is Marathon. That's the new Bungie game coming out. So in our last video, actually, we said that that would be multi-platform because Bungie said after the acquisition that their games would remain multi-platform. So that wasn't a surprise. Yeah. But on top of that, we also have, you know, Street Fighter 6 is going to be multi-platform.
Clearly.
So, and then I would not be surprised to see a couple other ones, one being the Splatoon ripoff coming from Square Enix being Foam Stars. I would be surprised to see that not
at least
come to anyone.
Go to the Switch or something, but you know, we'll see how it competes against Splatoon. That's pretty popular. Like Mitch said, a lot of those games are multi-platform, but we did get a good look at several of them. So obviously, I think the Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake, for me personally, I think was a really big surprise and actually something I'm pretty pumped about, because Snake Eater was probably,
it's your favorite.
You know, yeah, I think it's the best entry in the series of Metal Gear Solid. I mean, all the games are really good, but I think that one was next level, and even like compared to a lot of games, even now the survival mechanics and stuff like that are still like top tier. And I'm curious to see. The only issue I'm having, obviously, this is coming from Konami and not Kojima, so we'll see what creative liberties they decide to go with it. Hopefully they stay true to the original game and just expand on that survival and jungle exploration, hiding, combat, stuff like that. So, and back to Helldivers 2 actually was another one that looked really good. So yeah, that was another.
As of now, Helldivers 2 is a PlayStation exclusive. It is coming to PC.
Transition.
But yeah, that's not coming to Xbox.
Yeah, so that was not an Xbox One. I think we'll kind of just touch up on the ones that are coming to PlayStation at this point now. So yeah, we'll start with Helldivers 2. Completely dramatic change from the first one. So first one was more of a top-down esque kind of shooter, and this one is
like an arcade shooter.
Yeah, and this one is straight up a third-person shooter. So completely different. Looks great though. My goodness, and the trailer was good. Trailer was funny, which is apparently that is part of the series, is kind of a humor appeal. So I was getting very like Starship Troopers kind of vibes from it too.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I mean, I think that's what they were going for. So that looks good, and that's something to keep your eye out. And I think another thing to kind of comment is most of the games I think they showed in this are coming out this year.
Yeah, a lot are this year or next year. There was no non-release window. Everything was late 2023, early 2024, or just a date. Everything was fairly soon, within the next 18 months. So that was exciting to see that. And then, of course, one game that they announced and showed a much bigger in-depth play of that we predicted was Final Fantasy 16. And the more I see of this game, the more I really want it. It looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and this one's right around the window, or right around the corner here. The release is June 22nd. So, yeah, and I agree with Mitch. The more I see about this game, is the more I just want to get this game. It looks great. The combat looks super fun. So I'm very excited. And this is gonna be a big game for PlayStation that they're gonna ride on for pretty much most of the year here. So they obviously had some strong launches at the beginning of the year, and then now we're gonna get a good middle of the year launch. And,
And a game that got me super, super excited, probably the game I was second most excited for in this whole thing, was Phantom Blade Zero. This game is a Souls-like game that just looks graphically amazing, and the combat style looks absolutely beautiful. It really reminds you of the Sekiro Shadows Die Twice mixed with Wolong Final Dynasty with kind of the polish of Bloodborne, and it really looks absolutely beautiful. Now granted, this is not from Soft. This is a different developer, but this is one of those games that got me really, really excited, and I can't wait for this one to come out. It did get rumored to release end of this year, beginning of next year, so we'll see when that falls. I kind of think it'll come probably beginning of next year, but we'll see.
Yeah, kind of keep itching that Elden Ring itch here, kind of put that out there. And I mean, yeah, it looks super cool, and just the thing I noticed is like the movement and from the combat was so unique and so different compared to other games. It wasn't just simple as dodging and doing a parry or something. There was just, and I really hope that is what the game is like, he's stabbing but kicking at the same time and doing these spin flips, and like it looked super cool. So that looks pretty fun. And then obviously we got a couple really artistic games, I'd say, out there, some more indie style games. So we had Sword of the Sea, which is from the creators of Abzu and Journey, which are critically acclaimed games. People love them. They're beautiful games, beautiful scenery, beautiful music, and this looks just like it's gonna fit right in with all that. So looked fun to play, just nice relaxing game. And then we kind of got another one along that same kind of art style. Neva is what the name was. Sad trailer, but I love those kind of art style games. It kind of remind me of Okami back in the PS2, PS3 days, whatever that is, like with that, the painted style. And that's definitely what it looks for. It looks super cool too. I want to see more on that game as well, because that could be a fun little indie game that PlayStation has been so good about promoting in the past. So
yeah, and like we said, we're not going to touch on every game, but just a few games that really caught our attention, and another one of those was Towers of Oghazaba. I'm not sure if I said that right. Oghazaba. Towers of Oghazaba. That's really hard to say when you're reading it, but it's kind of like a Breath of the Wild ripoff, which is fine. Graphically, it looked really good, but it really showed off the paraglider aspect, with which Breath of the Wild really made famous. And, this formula is popular for a reason, and that's because it works. So ripping off Breath of the Wild is fine. I'm not mad at that, as long as the rest of the game is really good. It's got to have a lot more content, a lot of good stuff in there.
And the space whales.
But graphically, it looked great, so as long as it looks that good and has a lot more content, aside from just flying around and exploring the world, then I think this could be a big title as well.
But honestly, one thing that they did well here was, I think, really push for their PSVR 2. They showed quite a few games for it that kind of really make me want to get it. And that started off with the VR mode for Resident Evil 4, and boy, that looked good. Really good. It doesn't look like it had it could have been a rendered trailer, but you never know. That's, it's going to look just like the Resident Evil 4 edition on the PS5. So, and yeah, that game, fighting the guy with the chainsaw and everything looked crazy. And then we got a couple other strings of VR games that looked pretty good. We got a new Crossfire game coming that actually looked pretty good for a VR shooter, because I know those have been a little rough in the past, but this one looks pretty fun, actually. So I'm hoping it actually does translate into how it showed in the trailer, because that'd be super fun to play.
Yeah, like Austin said, this was one of the first times I actually kind of wanted a PSVR. And the 2 looks great with a couple of those games. Arizona Sunshine 2 is another one that looks like it could be a lot of fun.
That looked pretty funny. Good humor.
Game with humor, you can't lose on that. And then we got a couple other JRPGs that I think could be awesome, being Fantasy Relink, or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and Fantasy Tower, both coming. Those look like they could be really good if you're into JRPGs. And then we got the announcement for Firewalk's new game, which we knew about. That was another recent Sony acquisition with studios. This one is called Concord, and we didn't get a gameplay trailer or anything. We just got this trailer with this, it looked like a drop ship going down, and it had a bunch of, it showed some food and some guns. It reminded me of the first trailer we got of Starfield, to be honest, with just showing kind of what the engine could do.
But this one had a funky retro 80s feel to it, so it was cool.
So this one could be great. I'm excited to see what Firewalk can do on their own. Once again, announced for PlayStation 5 and PC. I imagine all these, because they did say that don't expect the PlayStation Studio games to come day one to PC. But since they're straight up announcing them for PS5 and PC, we can expect it very soon now. I think this will be like PS5 day one, and then maybe 4 to 6 months later we'll see it on PC. And then there's like Austin said, there's a few of them thrown in there, but the big one that took up a majority at the end of the showcase was one that we knew we were gonna see, and that's Spider-Man 2. And I'll tell you what, it really exceeded my expectations on the gameplay. Oh man, it looked, the graphics.
Yeah, it looked insane, and obviously, like, the trailer was a pretty in-depth trailer. We know we got Kraven the Hunter as one of the villains in here, and then they did show, the Lizard Man too. So obviously he's got, and they had him as, they were trying to make sure he didn't get killed by Kraven the Hunter because he had the cure for Harry, blah 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 blah. So obviously there's some convoluted story, and Peter is Mr. Venom Spider at the moment, so that is. Which they did tease Venom in the first teaser, but now you actually got to see him as your suit, and the combat abilities with that were like insane. They're cool, but kind of scary. Yeah. And so obviously that's going to be a big plot point, because Miles was like, what's going on with him? That's not like how he normally is. So
I imagine we're going to get a part where you see Miles taking on an angry Venom Peter. So
yeah, I think that's gonna happen. So, obviously this is the most anticipated game for PlayStation this year. I think this is why they didn't announce a lot of other games, because I think they're trying to just get this one as their foremost front game for the end of the year. Obviously, we got Final Fantasy 16 coming. Like I said, that's gonna be their middle of the year game, and this is their end of the year game. So that's kind of what they're banking on.
Everything else is filler at this point. On top of all that, we got, like we talked about in some other videos here, some new hardware coming from PlayStation, and we're gonna dive into this on a separate video, but they did announce the PlayStation handheld, being the Project Q, is what they're calling it for now. And it basically looks like a DualSense controller with a screen smushed in the middle of it. And all they said was that it's for remote play. So we'll talk about that in a different video, so stay tuned for that.
So I think that kind of rounds up. Unless, Mitch, how you have any other last minute things here?
The only other thing that was part of it was they announced PlayStation earbuds. So
yes.
if you're super excited for that, from what we've heard, it's going to be based on a lot of the technology that the 3D Pulse headphones are going to be. They're just going to be earbud style, and you can pair them to your phone. So that's kind of nice. It says you can simultaneously pair to your phone and the PlayStation. So that makes it nice for people that want to be able to answer calls. You know, you pause your game and you keep your headphones in and answer calls and be on your earbuds. So that could be cool. We didn't get pricing on that or the handheld, but I'm sure that will come soon in the future because those are both coming out this year.
But yeah, I think as a whole, this wasn't their best showcase. I think we saw a lot of good things.
All in all, I mean, Austin gave it a 7 out of 10. I gave it a 5 out of 10. So I guess, you know, together we'll give it a 6 out of 10. Makes sense. It was not awful, but it was far from great.
I think you were more hoping for more exclusives. I was pretty happy with some of the surprises, and minus them, you know, that they were multi-platform wasn't a huge deal to me. I think just kind of was the Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater that kind of brought it up a whole point for me. So
let us know what you guys think. Did you think this was a great showcase? What do you think would have made it better? Personally, the one thing that I think would have, you know, jumped it from a 5 to a 9 is just showing us the new Last of Us multiplayer game. Would have been huge. That was the one thing we were 80% was going to show up, and it didn't. So that was the biggest letdown. But what do you guys think? Tell us what your hopes were, what you were pleased with, what you were disappointed with in the comments. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we sure hope to see you again soon on
Super Platinum Achievement.
Later, guys.
Bye.